Welcome to the third part of Cooking and Baking 101, Equipping Caregivers to Create Delicious and Nutritious Homemade Meals, brought to you by American Way University. This is part 3 of a 5-part series. Please ensure that you have watched parts 1 and 2 before watching this portion. As a reminder, my name is Angie Danielski, and Krista Bly will be featured in the video segments that will help you better understand the course material. Here is an overview of what the third section of the presentation will cover. First, we'll learn more about the basics about preparation and cooking, such as maintaining a clean kitchen and selecting the proper cutting board for the appropriate task at hand. Let's get started with more of the basics. We'll begin by discussing what it takes to maintain a clean and sanitary kitchen, such as cleaning surfaces or washing your hands, followed by selecting the proper cutting board for the task at hand, including selecting the proper size and material of the cutting board. Maintaining a clean kitchen is not only important from an aesthetic perspective in order to keep it looking neat and tidy, but also to prevent foodborne illnesses. The most important thing that we can remember is to always wash our hands before cooking and baking. Washing your hands with soap and water will help to eliminate the bacteria and dirt that are often found on your hands. The proper technique for hand washing should have been learned in your standard precautions class. Having a clean set of dish towels available when preparing a meal is also important to limit the spread of bacteria. One dish towel should be used to dry your hands, but should not be shared with others. In some houses, paper towel will be used when preparing a meal to dry your hands, as cloth towels are not allowed to dry hands. A second dish towel can be used to wipe surfaces after a surface is cleared of one ingredient before another ingredient is placed in the same area. The only exception to this is when raw meat is placed on a surface. If any dish towel comes into contact with raw meat or juice from the raw meat, it should immediately be placed in an appropriate laundry receptacle to be washed. Having a few extra dish towels available is also a good idea in case anything is spilled. After each meal, the towels should be placed in the laundry. Wet towels should never be left in the kitchen, as bacteria will build up on them. Surfaces should also be cleaned between ingredients as mentioned. However, a disinfectant must be used on any surface that came into contact with raw meat or meat products. Raw meat contain harmful bacteria such as E. coli and Salmonella, which can make us very sick. Raw fruits and vegetables that will be served to residents should be washed and scrubbed. Dirt and bacteria can be present on the outside of the fruits and vegetables, especially if there is an indent or crevice on the surface. Brushes to scrub fruits and vegetables are commercially available. Lastly, it is a good idea to wash dishes and clean up any messes that you have made as you go. Big stacks of dishes can be overwhelming, so taking the time to wash dishes as you move through the meal preparation process can save a lot of time after the meal. A good rule of thumb is to wash a dish or two every time you wash your hands. Selecting the proper cutting board to be used can be helpful when preparing a meal where you need to cut or chop the food during preparation. The size of the cutting board can make a difference, especially when it comes to chopping vegetables or cutting meat. Small cutting boards are good to chop something quickly. If a recipe simply calls for a diced onion, a small cutting board is quick and easy to get out, dice the onion, and quickly clean up. A medium cutting board is often used when a recipe requires multiple vegetables to be chopped, sliced, or diced. Large cutting boards are usually plastic and have grooves in them that are used for cutting meat. These grooves are for the juices from the meat to run off so that the meat is not sitting in the juice. The material of the cutting board can also make a difference depending on what it is that is being cut. Cutting boards that are made of wood are often not recommended to use for cutting meat. Wooden cutting boards are porous and bacteria can live and grow in these boards. However, we may see wood laminate cutting boards, which are essentially fake wood that are used for chopping meat. Plastic cutting boards are preferred when cutting meat, specifically the ones that are not porous. Acrylic or laminate cutting boards are usually lumped in along with plastic cutting boards. Glass cutting boards should never be used. In the next slide, we will see Krista explaining and showing us the different types of cutting boards.
Cutting boards are pretty basic, a basic need in the kitchen. I have 3 different ones here to just kind of show you. This one is a small one, it's wooden, it's nice. I like this one a lot for just quick little things. Then I have this plastic one. This is just a little bit bigger, perhaps for onions, anything that you're doing that's not quite as quick as something like this. What's nice about this plastic one is it has these rubber grip pads on the bottom. So when you are cutting or chopping, this board will not slide on the counter. Okay, so this is a nice board. It gets kind of dinged up, but it still works well. This board is even bigger yet, and it's designed because it has these grooves in here to put a large piece of meat on it and slice meat, and the juices that drip off go into the crevice here, so you don't get it running all over the place. It's also a bigger board if you want to use it for, you can use it for whatever, but typically the purpose of this is with those grooves in there for that. And anytime you're using the wooden boards and you don't have the grip on the back, if you just take a wet dish towel, wring it out well, and put it underneath, that will help to keep it sturdy so it won't wobble around either.
This concludes Part 3 of the American Way University training of Cooking and Baking 101, Equipping Caregivers to Create Delicious and Nutritious Homemade Meals.